So I had a really good productive day yesterday, and now I don't feel like sewing. But I'm going to make myself sew anyways because I'm so close to finishing the Chocolate Girl project. All I have left to do is to make the cap. And I think I've talked about it before that the whole cap thing is very intimidating to me, and I think that's why I've been putting it off. I also tried to make a white muslin cap, and that's still in progress. I might finish it, but I was going to make that one first to kind of make sure that I knew how to make the cap before cutting into my pink silk taffeta. But I kind of just want to be done. I don't want to have to wait to finish the other one. So hopefully the pink one will just work out, and yeah, we'll see. But I have this pink silk taffeta that I ordered online, and the problem with ordering things online is that you kind of don't really know what you're getting. And this silk taffeta, it could just be very crisp taffeta, which you do get, but it just kind of feels like maybe it's a polyester taffeta. I don't know, but we're gonna test it out with a lighter, because if it is polyester, the threads will melt. If it's silk, they'll burn. So I'm gonna do that test on a little corner of this first before we start out. I also just want to note that a lot of the footage in this video came out really blurry, and I didn't realize it at the time. So I apologize for that. I think it's clear enough that you'll still be able to follow what's going on. And I did fix it in time to do the reveal footage. So I don't blame you at all if you want to just skip ahead to the pretty reveal footage of the finished cap, if that is more your style. Okay, well, apparently I know nothing about fabric because this definitely burned. It did not melt at all. If it melted, I would have been able to feel kind of that, it would have gotten hard, and beaded on the end. And this was just very ashy, and I could kind of rub away the ash of the part of the fabric that burned. So, yep, looks like it is, in fact, 100% silk. So that's good, and that means that we can get started making the cap. I'm using the Burnley Trowbridge cap tutorial, and this is the same tutorial series that I used to make my shift. I really like their tutorials because they take you step by step and provide a very detailed explanation of why you're doing something, what kind of stitches to use, everything you need to know as a beginner to get started with this hobby. And for the cap one, they also provide a free printable PDF pattern. So here I'm just lining up that pattern piece on top of my fabric to cut it out. There are 3 parts to the cap pattern: the caul, or kind of the largest part that covers most of your head, the band, which is the flat part that kind of goes around the top of your head and down onto the sides, and then the ruffle. I'm omitting the ruffle for my cap because if you look at the Chocolate Girl painting, she doesn't have a ruffle, she just has some lace that has been stuck onto the end of it. So once my pattern pieces were cut out, the next step was to hem the edges of the band, and I did this by folding the edges up twice and then using a hem stitch on them. It was really difficult to get the curved edge of the band to roll over on itself twice. I used my little clips to help me out, and it's not perfect, but it will work. Well, I have done it. I have hemmed this curved edge of the band. So this is going to go something like this. But it was very difficult to do. This like curved edge was difficult, and just kind of took like a lot of fiddling. And there's even some parts where like I didn't get it rolled all the way under, and it's sort of the raw edge is poking out a little bit. Hopefully that'll be okay. Yeah, it's turning out well so far. I'm kind of excited for it. So on the bottom of the caul, there is a drawstring that extends from either side of the caul to the center and exits through a pair of eyelets. I marked the eyelets with my fabric pen and then used my bone awl to poke the hole through, and then did my eyelet stitch around that hole to secure it. Once the eyelets were done, I measured out my drawstring so that I would have enough to extend out of the eyelet and then follow along through the casing. I then rolled the bottom edge of the caul up twice to form like a little pocket for that drawstring to sit in. And I used the assistance of my clips again to hold that in place. I used the same hem stitch to stitch that down, making sure not to catch any of the drawstring in my stitches. The section of the caul that sits on the sides of the head doesn't have any ruffles or gathers in it. So for that section, I simply rolled the edge inwards twice and hemmed it the same way that I did the bottom. I then laid the band on the caul right side to right side and joined that straight portion with a whip stitch. The remainder of the fabric that goes over the crown of the head gets gathered down onto the band, and here's what that looks like about 1/3 of the way through. The technique that the Burnley Trowbridge tutorial advises you to use to gather this excess fabric down is called a rolled whip gather. And it's similar to a rolled hem in that you're rolling the fabric under itself so that all the raw edges are enclosed, but the way that you whip around it should allow you to gather the fabric down as you go. I tried this out, and now I've never done this particular stitch before, so it could have partially been, beginner error, but I could not get the silk taffeta to roll or to gather nicely. So what I ended up doing was folding it over on itself twice as I went, and because it's that curved edge, it wasn't the cleanest sort of process, and if you look on the inside of my cap, you can definitely tell it's a little bit rough looking, but in the end the gathers look nice from the outside, so I'm pretty happy with it. Isn't it so cute? I'm so happy with how it turned out. I still have to add on the lace and the blue ribbon. And of course, I don't know if you can tell, but the shape of the cap does not exactly match the one from the Chocolate Girl. In hers, there really aren't gathers on the top part. The gathers are like all on the bottom and towards the back. I couldn't figure out how to get that shape, so I really just went with the pattern from Burnley and Trowbridge. So yeah, it's not exactly correct, but I think it's close enough, and it's really cute, and I'm just so happy with how it's turned out so far. To attach the lace, I simply laid it along the edge of the band and then tacked it down with thread about every inch or so, making sure to travel my thread through the hem of the band so that I wouldn't have the long stitches showing on the inside. Then I laid the blue silk ribbon over top of that lace, right where the caul is gathered into the band of the cap. So it's covering up both the edge of the lace and those gathered bits. And I tacked the ribbon down in a very similar manner to how I tacked the lace down. And then it was done. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think it is so cute and will work really well with the Chocolate Girl project. If you want to see more historical costuming videos like this one, please subscribe to my channel. And as always, be fearless with your creativity.